Okay, how's everybody doing today? My name is Kent. It is December 3rd, 2:07 p.m. in San Diego, California. My name is Kent again, Bitcoin believer, and I'll try to do these every single day. And I'm live, so if you want to participate, there's a way for you to comment. I'm not using YouTube software, so I use another software. I don't know how it shows up. I'll have to look at it. But if there's a comment section, I see you. I can see if you thumb up or if you give a comment. If you do, let me know. I'll see it right away. I've got it on my box. So anyway, if you want to comment, let me know. So anyway, the title of this video was how many billionaires, a lot of billionaires have made their money by actually shorting currencies, shorting fiat currencies. And of course, I got a list of them here on ChatGPT. The most famous, of course, is George Soros. Soros has made billions by shorting currencies, fiat currencies. And I'll show you a couple that he shorted. And let me explain what shorting means, because it's actually a technical term, and it's a term of art used in the trading business. Of course, I used to be a stockbroker, so I understand this. And in fact, when you take the Series 7 exam, you always have to get all that stuff straight: the puts, the calls, the shortings, and all that other stuff. In fact, the only thing I remember from the Series 7 examination was that railroad bonds are traded in quarter-point increments. That's the only thing I remember. Everything else I forgot. But that's been a long, long time ago. But anyway, the way shorting works is it's selling something into the market that in a future date. So in other words, whatever the price is today, you're going to sell it into the future, and then into the future, when that time comes, whatever price it is, you either have to cover your shorts or you're going to pick up the difference between what it was when you sold it and what it is in the future. That's a short. And a lot of people talk about it, but not too many people understand it. So anytime you sell something today that's at a higher price and it goes down in the future, you're going to win on your short. And you can short anything practically in today's world: currencies, stocks, almost anything. And most of these billionaires have made their money by shorting fiat currencies, because they know fiat currencies can most of the time go down in value, especially given certain political and economic circumstances. They go down in value. And if you got a guy like George Soros, who's very well connected, he can short a currency and make a ton of money. So that's the way that works. In fact, let me tell you a quick story. I used to be a farmer back in Nebraska. And of course, I understood farming a little bit better than most of farmers, because I had a brokerage background. And I also, been to the business college at the University of Nebraska. So I understood a little bit about markets. And I started to realize as a corn farmer that you never could win. And the reason you could never win is because you're out there putting your blood, sweat, and tears into this piece of property. You're putting all your money into it: fertilizer, time, energy, everything you have that you're pouring into this crop. And then at the end of the year, when you harvest it, you take it to the elevator, and whatever the elevator is willing to pay you, that's what you get for your and it doesn't have, your input costs have nothing to do with it. It's just whatever the market is at the time you harvest. But I started to realize that every time corn made a pretty good jump, all of a sudden there were people shorting from the Chicago Board of Trade were coming and were shorting the market. So when I realized that you had people on Wall Street that could sell corn and not literally be a corn farmer and sell into the market, and could sell at such enormous amounts that the poor farmer out there standing alone with his 100 and 200 and 300, 400 acres of corn had no chance of marketing, when you had these people that had incredible resources, incredible money, incredible funds, and they could short your commodity down to a point where you literally couldn't make a profit, or you would be, every time the corn price would go up, they'd short it back down. And of course, a lot of people think that's healthy, because that's keeps the markets from going too high or going too low. But what it really does is it works against the small guy. And the small guy is like the farmer. And when they short commodities, all of a sudden that just buries you and you can't get out of it. That's why I've never been a person that likes commodities. And that's why I eventually decided to leave the farm and go off and do something different, because I realized you could never beat the markets, because you had people that didn't own the commodity that could actually sell the commodity against you, even though you owned the commodity. They didn't. and they had none of the costs, but they could still sell against you. So when I found that out, figured that out, I said, hey, I'm out of here. I can't deal with this stuff anymore. So that's shorting. And of course, a lot of people short. It's a very common practice on all markets. And it's, of course, like I say, some people think a very healthy practice. So the Chicago Board of Trade has ruined farming, and it's ruined a lot of farmers. And I'm going to make some farm videos, because I have a lot of talk about farm these days, because I know a lot about it because I was there for a long time, grew up in a farm family, and I saw, the damage it gets done, when you have, basically what these farmers are now is they're on subsidies. Here's you got the farmer who's this guy that's, probably very, very conservative in nature and can't stand people getting some sort of food stamps or welfare. But on the same token, even though they are producing, they are getting a benefit or help from the government too. So, everybody's kind of in the same boat as far as that's concerned. So let's take and I'm going to talk to you about how this can help you today and what the billionaires are doing today. So let's look at Bitcoin today. In fact, Bitcoin's getting close to topping 40 grand. Bitcoin is 39,568. It's been hanging around here for a while. I'm hoping for it to bust through 40 grand. If it busts through 40 grand, it's probably going to go much, much, much higher. And, I've been preaching that for quite a while now. I mean, Bitcoin goes up and it goes down. When it goes up, it's like a house of fire, man. It just takes off and it runs like crazy. When it goes down, yeah, it can take a pretty good downward turn. I've been in that too, that circumstance too. So don't always think it goes up, but I think with the halving, with the ETF, with the economy, and with what I'm about ready to show you here in a second, it's got a pretty good chance of going much, much, much higher. So I've established the fact that and let's go back. Let's just look at these names on this hedge fund manager. Funny, because when I was a stockbroker, nobody, I was in the 80s, and I always heard about hedge funds. And I thought, what the heck is a hedge fund? I never learned about that in stock brokerage school or Series 7 or Series 63. They never told me about hedge funds. What are these hedge fund guys? I didn't really understand it because it, wasn't that popular. It's gotten more popular. I think it got popular in the 80s, but it got really popular. But here are some of the people that have made. I just went into ChatGPT and said some famous hedge fund managers have well known for their success in shorting currencies. Here are some of the examples. George Soros. We all know about Soros. He shorted. Here's a short. George Soros makes 1.2 billion betting against the Chinese yen, which was probably a pretty good idea. I'm going to tell you really quick what's going on in China, because China's crashing. And the reason China's crashing is because they haven't been able to get back up to where they were prior to 2020. And they're still trying to get manufacturing going. The other thing is, in the meantime, with all the manufacturing they've done over the past 50 years, the monies that's come poured back into China from all the trading that they've done has raised the standard of living in China to the point where now there's cheaper places to get things done. You can go to Mexico, you can go to Vietnam, you can go to India, and you can actually get manufacturing done cheaper there than in China. So China's in a real world of hurt. Now, that happened to the United States too. The United States manufacturing got to the point where we manufactured a lot in the United States. We sent it overseas, raised our standard of living, and then everything got so expensive that we had to start importing stuff from China. But the difference between the United States and China, and this is why I made a video about Henry Kissinger the other day, is the United States was able then to sell their debt. So they went from a manufacturing economy to a debt economy. And since we were world currency, no one could trade oil, and usually most people traded internationally with the dollar, we were able to use that leverage and continue our high standard of living without having a manufacturing base anymore. We become a debt-based economy, selling our debt, our treasuries, because people wanted to hold them. And even like I watched videos today in Argentina, people would rather hold US dollars than the Argentina, whatever that currency is, because the US dollar represents a world currency that has value around the world and people have to hold it. So China doesn't have that. China can't go to a debt-based economy right now. So what they're going to start doing is they're going to start printing yen, and they're going to print trillions of dollars of yen. And of course, the United States, with all the things they got going on, proxy wars and still recovering from 2020, They've been stimulating with massive. They're tightening right now, but they can only tighten so long. The Feds are tightening right now, the money supply, but they only do it so long, and then they're going to have to start expanding. We'll go back to quantitative easing, and they'll be printing trillions. So you got the Chinese printing trillions, and you got the Americans printing trillions, and that's just kind of the way things are going right now. So that's one. Okay, now I'll show you the other thing about Soros. Get rid of this. Here's traders, billionaires that have made their money trading. They're traders. And of course, trading is a lot of times shorting. So you got Buffett, Griffin, Ray Dalio, all these guys. Some of these names you can recognize. So let me go on to this flashback. Let me see. Is that the one I was already on? How George Soros broke the British pound and why hedge fund probably can't crack the euro. So yeah, he basically, what Soros did is he shorted the British pound, and that's what made him a billionaire, basically. I think in 90, what it says, I don't know his entire history, but he shorted foreign currencies. I'm just reading right here. Foreign currencies trading has only gotten more massive, pegged at $5 trillion a day by the Bank of International Settlements. And I think this is an old article, but so has the financial firepower of central banks. The Federal Reserve balance has stands at 4.5 trillion. Yeah, this is old. While the European Central 1.1 trillion. Let me see what date this is. This thing is, this was in, yeah, this is 2015. So the billionaires have been shorting currencies, making lots of money. And that's the way a lot of them have made their money. They haven't gone out and worked, something. They didn't create. That's why people love Elon Musk. Elon Musk actually created something. Tesla. He's creating stuff. SpaceX. He's doing stuff. These guys, they're just people. They're just shorting currencies, and of course they have enough financial backers behind them to the point where they can get themselves financially independent and do it themselves. But that's how they're making their billions. They're not helping the world, coming up with new technologies and doing things to make our lives easier and better. They're actually just taking advantage of things and taking advantage of the fact that governments are printing money, and that's what they're doing. But how can you do this? How can you, you don't have billions of dollars. You can't go out into the market and short the British pound and hopefully win, because you don't have the kind of resources that a guy like George Soros has. But what are the billionaires doing today to short the US dollar and every other currency in the world? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're doing this. Billionaires are embracing crypto in case money goes to hell. So there you go. If you want to short the US dollar, if you want to short the Chinese yen, if you want to short every other currency in the world, you just need to do one thing. You just need to buy Bitcoin, because it's going to short everything else. Though it's the biggest short play you can make in the world right now is to buy Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is fixed, 21 million, and we know 1 million belongs to Satoshi, so that'll never be seen again. 21 million plus all the lost keys and all the money, all the Bitcoin that got lost through the early years when it was really low in value, all that. So all you need to do is buy Bitcoin, and you can literally be George Soros and short currencies, because fiat currencies don't have any value, and we know that. They're just printed money. So all you need is a little bit of economic downturn in a country. Their currency falls down, and a guy like this can make billions of dollars, because that's the way he works. So that's the way you, as a little person, a common, everyday, ordinary person, can short everything in the world today that's inflated because of massive inflation, massive overspending, and no physical, restraints. That's the way the world works today. They're just buying themselves time by printing money, and of course, Bitcoin's getting ready to cross 40,000. I think once it crosses 40,000, it probably go pretty quickly up to 45, 50,000. And I think I think that December is going to be a very good month for Bitcoin. So if you want to find 150, 200, 300 bucks, 500 bucks, 1,000 bucks, maybe even a Bitcoin, which would be 39,000, I think you got a pretty good way to go. I mean, you're betting with the billionaires. The billionaires are going after Bitcoin right now. So if you want to do that, this is even an old one. This is January. This is when Bitcoin was. I don't know what it was doing in January 20. But if you want to embrace you want to, and it's funny how many billionaires now are jumping on the Bitcoin wagon. It's crazy. Elon Musk, you know, and all these other people. Some of these people that weren't even involved with Bitcoin now. If you go, they're all, Michael Saylor. This is all about the books, but let me see if I can get images of Bitcoin billionaires. See who we got. Yeah, well, we know these twins. These guys are the guys that supposedly came up with Facebook, and then they claim that what's his name stole the idea. So they got a bunch of Bitcoin, but there's a lot of these, people that are Mike Novogratz. These people are all into crypto right now. Let me see who these guys are. Of course, you got this guy's going to jail. He's not, there's Soros. I mean, there's a Sailor. So it's incredible how many people now are pushing Bitcoin that have a lot of money. That a few years ago that didn't even talk about it. So or actually shunned it and thought it was a bad idea. So anyway, that's what it is. If you want to keep up with what the big money's doing today, all you got to do is do one thing. You just got to buy Bitcoin. I appreciate you watching. Thank you.